other technical officers with us this afternoon. The press briefing will go with a statement by the Minister of Agriculture, and thereafter we will open the floor to questions. We ask that you, as you ask your questions, that you kindly identify yourselves and the media house you represent. Thank you very much. I now hand over to the Honorable Minister of Agriculture.
Thank you very much, Dr. Cummins, and member of the media, good afternoon. And let me wish you all the best for the season. This is our closing of the year, our year-end press conference, and I thought that we should do it today so that we can do a review of what has happened over the last year, our programs, and then what we plan to do in the new year. As we close 2023, it is a good time for us to take stock and reflect on the achievement and performance of the agriculture sector in 2023. For us, 2023 was a very good year, although we have encountered a number of difficulties. But before I go into the achievement of 2023, I want to give an update what we have took over since I became Minister of Agriculture. And in this light, I want to highlight 3 areas that I will speak on: what we inherited when we took over from the last government in 2020, our fight against COVID-19, and rebuilding the sector after the most devastating floods in the history of our country in 2021. And when we took over in 2020, agriculture, I took over a sector that was neglected and negatively impacted by political decisions, such as heavy taxation, high fees, and under-resourced institutions. During the last administration, we have seen approximately 7,000 sugar workers were placed on the breadline. This caused a rippling effect in rural Guyana, places like Demerara and Berbice, and thousands more living in those communities that depend on the industry were affected. At that time, the ILO study confirmed that in some area of the sugar belt, poverty increased by some 60%, places like Kanji, places like Wales, Skeldon, and more. In the rice sector, we have seen additional burdens were placed on the backs of farmers and also cash crop farmers. Farmers were required to pay increased land rental and D&I charges from $3,500 to $15,000. When we were in opposition prior to 2020, we took a motion to the National Assembly to reverse this increase. Of course, it was defeated by the one-seat majority of the government at that time. And places like Region 5, that produces 43% of our national rice production, those areas were seriously affected. Farmers were unable to pay their rental. We have seen many land were abandoned, and many farmers came out of rice cultivation. Also, D&I charges were increased tremendously, and we made a commitment that when we go back into office, that we'll reverse those sharp increases. And in October of 2020, we took a motion to the National Assembly, and we successfully reversed the increases from $15,000 to $3,500. And although we have seen that drastic increase during that time, many of the infrastructure, D&I infrastructure, the dams, and other infrastructure in the agriculture sector were neglected. And we also witness the start of decline in certain production in the various sectors in the agriculture sector. Also, I took over a sector that the then government would have purchased 12 pumps with a line of credit from India at a cost of $2 million. And we know the history of those pumps. Those pumps are still in the system, are defective, and we are still trying to recoup our money or try to get proper pumps that can be satisfy the specification and the requirements. Today, those pumps are still defective, and as I said, we are actively working to see how we can rectify that situation. In the other crop sector, we have seen a number of areas that were neglected. Things like diversification, new industries, new crops were non-existent. And we have seen a decline, a sharp decline in other crops production. Also in the livestock production, Guyana livestock sector was more than what farmers could bear prior to 2020. With no support and guidance, farmers were left to fend for themselves, unlike what we are doing today as a government, and I will go through that and tell you how we have improved this sector tremendously. We have seen also in the aquaculture sector was neglected between 2016 to 2019. We have seen a decline by 6 times in this sector. It has declined so rapidly that fisher folks in the aquaculture sector, investors were withdrawing their investment. And we have seen a number of aqua farms that have came out of production. And then in 2015, in November 2016, the United States put out new requirements for the export of catfish species to the United States, although the government was notified and they had to take corrective measure to put system in place. It was never done. In 2018, the United States put a ban on our catfish species to that country. And this was considered a big blow for us in the fishing sector. Many of our fisher folks were hit very hard. So politically and the political decisions that were implemented by the last government negatively impacted the agriculture sector. And then when we took office in 2020, August, we had to deal with the COVID-19 pandemic. And we know the challenges that we were faced with. And yesterday, of course, the Minister of Health would have highlighted some of the measures the Ministry of Health would have put in place. But at the same time, we had to also run a country, put system in place to avert and arrest the situation, the decline. And we know for a fact that the COVID-19 pandemic disrupted the supply chain, leading to significant losses for farmers in the Caribbean, including Guyana, tremendously. The collapse of tourism and the food service sector, along with social distancing measures, affected the harvest and sale of various agri-food products. We know for a fact that there was a study also by the FAO and CARICOM when they did a study in October of 2020, highlighting the struggle of many cash crop farmers in Guyana, citing income reduction, production difficulties, and challenges in accessing seed, livestock farming, and other sector in the agriculture sector. So against those backdrop, we had to put system in place to increase production and improve production in the agriculture sector. And another factor we have to take into consideration, we took office in August of 2020, and in May of 2021, we were hit with one of the most devastating floods in the history of our country. We have seen almost 80% or over 80% of our agriculture sector were destroyed. Approximately, we suffer losses to the tune of approximately $37 billion in our country. So today I'm very proud to say that we have made many strides over the years, and we have seen over the last 3 years, we have seen a robust agriculture sector. We have seen once again a sector that is improving, that we are seeing growth. We are seeing where more and more people now have trust the system and are coming in drove in this sector, although we are an oil and gas producing country. And the last budget would have been, we have seen where the Minister of Finance would have shown the increase to our GDP from the agriculture sector, the non-oil sector. And the non-oil sector is being driven by the agriculture sector in terms of growth. And our commitment to the people of this country have been unwavering. I want to state upfront that in this sector, we have completed all our manifesto promises, and we are working a new commitment that we have set ourselves. And that is a tremendous achievement for us. You know for a fact that almost 82,000 farmers and households were affected with the floods. We had to find money to give farmers to go back to the land as quickly as possible. The government at that time made $7.8 billion available, which was distributed to farmers, cash crop farmers, livestock farmers, rice farmers, people who had kitchen gardens, and then also the government also through the Ministry of Agriculture, we made funds available to several sugar workers who had lost their job when the AP and UFC was in government. We also provide funds to fisher folks across the country. We give a one-off cash grant to fisher folks across the country. And a number of other help in terms of helping farmers with fertilizers, helping farmers with inputs and other chemicals were distributed free of cost to the farmers. So I'm happy to note that we are now moving in a direction where Guyana is considered as the leader in agriculture today in CARICOM. When I became Minister of Agriculture, we have lost that position in CARICOM. In 1973, when CARICOM was formed, Guyana always led in agriculture. Today, once again, we are the shining light in agriculture with the leadership of His Excellency the President. And the entire Caribbean is looking forward to us to lead. And we have started to give that kind of leadership. Places like Barbados, whose economy was built on tourism, they want to get involved in agriculture, and we are now helping them technically to build their sector. Trinidad and Tobago, they want us to help them, and we have started to help them technically to rebuild their sector, and other Eastern Caribbean countries. So you could see the influence that we have made over this short period. And I think that over the years to come, Guyana will be that powerhouse once again in the agriculture, the production, and leading this sector. So if I could go through sector by sector and just do a highlight for you on some of the major sectors that we have. For example, in the sugar industry, in 2023, we have seen an investment of $8.1 billion to continue the revitalization effort of the sugar industry. And I made this point 2 weeks ago in Parliament that we will be seeing less and less dependency from the government in terms of Gaisuku, revitalizing and bring back Gaisuku to that point that we wanted to achieve. And this, we have seen a 22% decrease of funding that we have requested from the government compared to 2022. So 2023, we had $8.1 billion to continue the revitalization effort of the sugar industry. This reflects a decrease of 22% when compared to 2022. In keeping with its 2020 manifesto promise, one of the major achievements for sugar is the reopening of the Rose Hall estate. We have reopened this estate on the 20th of September 2023, and to date we have produced a total of 1,031 metric tons of sugar last year. Sugar production in 2023, we closed at 60,204 metric tons, a 28% or 13,155 metric ton increase in production when compared to 47,049 metric ton in 2022. The industry was able to plant for 52% more land in 2023, a total of 4,020 hectares as compared to 2,640 hectares in 2022. We have seen a further 54% of sugar production was marketed as bag or packaged sugar in 2023 as compared to 48% in 2022. We will be continue aggressively, and we have started that. And in the last supplementary request that we had in the National Assembly, I made that point that we are focusing heavily on mechanization and conversion project across the industry. We will convert over 5,000 hectares of land over the next 2 years so that we can have mechanization done in terms of mechanical harvesting and mechanical loading. We have commenced the construction of the Albion and Blaymont packaging plant to increase the production of value-added packaged sugar. And we have launched 2 new value-added packaged brands. One is the Albion Gem, and 2, the Demerara Gold Sugar Stick Sachet. To date, we have employed, from 2020, we have employed 4,692 new employees. The total employment, or the total number of workers in Gaisuco at the end of 2023 is 8,294. That is workforce. So that is for sugar, and you could see clearly that we are seeing a revitalization of the sugar industry, and we are seeing more and more people are benefiting. In the rice industry, this remains an important pillar of our agriculture sector. In 2023, we saw an increase in paddy production by 7%, which translates to the production of 653,706 metric tons. That is a 43,111 metric ton increase in the production in 2023 compared to 2022 production of 610,595. So we have seen an increase in production. And this is rice production, right? Rice production by 43,111 metric ton from last year to this year. Notably, favorable weather condition or variety in the yield have increased from 6.2 tons to 6.3 tons per hectares. We earn approximately $45.2 billion in export, $210 million US in 2023, over $3 billion more than 2022. We have new markets in different parts of the world. Due to our groundbreaking research, we have a very robust research team. We have been working with ICA, and you know at the last Agri-Investment Expo, we have launched the zinc-enriched variety, rice variety, call it the Biofortify rice, and that name is GRDB ICA 17 variety in October, where we are now growing the zinc, the supplement, in the rice. For our scientists to continue on this path and conduct more trials, we have renovation of the plant breeding lab and at the Burma Rice Research Station. So we are enhancing that lab, and we are hoping that we can do more research and bring out better variety of these rice. We have constructed to date, over the last 3 years, 8 drying floors across the country in various parts of the region. And we are now the Blackbush seed processing facility has started operation there. That was done for a number of years, and we have recently started out operation there, and that will produce close to about 6,000 bags of paddy for approximately 600 farmers in the Blackbush polder will be benefiting. And over the next few years, we'll continue expansion of these rice processing facilities, these seed processing facilities across the country. In infrastructural development, one of our success stories is the DNI, Drainage and Irrigation, Farm to Market Access Road. And we have seen to date, we have 17 pump stations currently ongoing or are building across the country. Places like Quarantine, Adventure, on the Essequibo Coast, Region 3, right here in Region 4, different parts of our country. For the first time in the history of our country, we have constructed a conservancy in Region 10, where farmers now are benefiting from irrigation water in Region 10. We have built approximately 50-kilometer farm-to-market roads across the country. Places like Nabakalis, Victoria on the East Coast in Region 4, Androminen in Region 2, Takama in Region 10, almost 41-kilometer of road in the Takama Savannah, where we have started the production of corn and soya. We are also doing roads in Region 3. We did road at Maikoni. We are doing road there for the first time. Those roads are being built where farmers are having better access to farm-to-market road there. Our fleets of equipment have increased tremendously, both from the NDIA and MMA. We have seen over the last 3 years, for example, MMA had 3 dilapidated excavator. Today, they boast a fleet of almost 8 of those excavators, or 6 of those excavators at MMA. In the NDIA, we have seen a number of new equipment, things like the pontoon and excavator and pontoons in the Pomeroon. We have already built a pontoon with 2 excavators in the Pomeroon, and we are now building a second one there for another pontoon with 2 other excavators. We have built cutter edge dredges. These dredges are so capable of doing outfalls and go into the banks of the outfalls there, because we are having tremendous siltation across the country, and we are hoping that we can build more of those cutter edge dredges. Also, we have seen a number of new excavators, both the long reach, the medium reach, and the mini excavators being procured by the National Drainage and Irrigation Authority, and which are being working across the country in various parts of the country. We want to increase that fleet, and we want to make it more effective, because you know for a fact that during the rainy season, and when we have the rainy season, there are demands for these machinery across the country. So that will continue. Also, I made the point that in the new year, in another 2 weeks, works will begin. We'll start the construction of the embankment for the Hope-Like Canal in Regions 6 and Region 5. Now, before or by the end of February 2024, we'll see the construction started. We'll start the construction of the Hope-Like Canal in both regions, where we'll have a number of these mega structures being built across Regions 5 and 6, and a number of other support structure, things like pump stations, sluices, and so will be built. So what we have now at the Hope there, that Hope-like structure, we'll have a number of those, approximately 3 in Region 6 and 5 in Region 5 of those structure across. And I'm hoping that that will help us tremendously in alleviating flooding across the region. Also, we have seen during the period 2015 to 2020, a number of farmers' leases were revoked by the former administration. Unlike that, we had distributed in 2022 128 leases to farmers in the MMA scheme, and this year we have distributed 100 to farmers. So farmers now are getting leases for their land which they could use as collaterals to the bank to get loan to increase their production level. In the Region 5 also, we have done D&I work to benefit 28,500 acres of new land, 28,500 acres of land for agriculture purposes. 15,000 acres of this is new land in the Horstelin-Berbice area. And in Pomeroon, this here in the Pomeroon, we know for a fact that the Pomeroon farmers normally suffer severely with flooding. The president visited earlier this year, himself and I, and what we decided that we will do massive D&I work. We are now doing block drainage in the Pomeroon area, and we are lifting the beds of these cash crop farmers to approximately 1.5 meter, so that they will not be flooding there, or easily flooded out there when we have high tide or heavy rainfall. We have close to about over 550 farmers will benefit from this exercise. Approximately $1.8 billion will be expended to do about 20,000 acres of farmlands in the Pomeroon area here. In the hinterland region, we have also increased works in the hinterland community, $62.1 million. We have completed rainwater harvesting project in Deep South, Ruperoni, places like Ashalton and other Deep South villages, where approximately 800 farmers in 20 villages will benefit from these so that they could continue their crops. And you know for a fact that the Ministry of Agriculture, now we have established a hinterland department where we are working very closely with the Tushaus across the hinterland community, and we are supporting them with planting material, livestock, a number of livestock we have distributed to various communities. We are now looking to procure machinery for them, things like excavators. We have already given various regions, places like Region 1 and Region 9, large tractors so that they could cultivate land there with grass planters, with harrow plows, and almost every hinterland community in this country have received tractors so that they can increase their agriculture production. In the diversification program, in 2023, the non-traditional sector, we have seen a revolution in the entire sector. We continue the establishment of new industries that are high-value commodities that will bring more revenue and employment in Guyana. Together with the private sector, NARI, we have seen one of our bilateral partners, we have launched the hydroponic project, one of the largest in the Caribbean, at the Manripo there. We have close to about over 50 new crops there with spices, high-end herbs that are now being grown there. And we'll see three additional, because you know at the last Agri-Investment Expo, the president launched the program there of $4.5 million to establish three of those projects more in regions 2, 5, and 10, where over 300 young people more will benefit from this project. And these are projects that we are encouraging young people to come into agriculture. And over the last 3 years, I'm very, very satisfied that we are seeing more and more young people are making agriculture their livelihood. Those persons who would have went to the University of Guyana and the Guyana School of Agriculture and they received their degree or diplomas, they were not involved in agriculture. Today we are seeing hundreds of those young people now involved in agriculture for their livelihood. And that augurs well for us. To add to these projects, we have seen also the AIEP project that was launched by His Excellency the President, the Agriculture Innovative Entrepreneurial Program. And this program here is a success story. We see a number of young people, not only in Manripo, where we have close to about 54 shade houses there at Manripo, but across the country we are seeing more and more young people. You know for a fact that this was a very innovative project where we have formed a company and we have made these young people shareholders. To date, we have seen an earnings of over $25 million from this project. These young people will receive dividends from this project as shareholders. So these are encouragement for young people to get involved in the agriculture sector. So we'll continue with these high-value crops, and not only in one part of the country, but various parts of the country. What we are doing and what we are looking at over the last 3 years, we have seen a serious demands for planting and planting material. And last year, or earlier this year, we have signed a contract with the Energy Resource Institute from India to build a tissue culture lab at NARI. This tissue culture lab will produce in the vicinity around 1 million plantlets annually. What we are producing now, just around 13,000 to 15,000 plantlets. When this lab is completed later on, like midpoint next year, 2024, we will be able to produce 1 million plantlets for our farmers around the country. And we will see production in things like plantain, pineapple, breadfruit, sweet potato, coconut, blackberry, blueberry. You know, for the first time, we'll do things like cassava, citrus, cut flower, ginger, all those capability this plant lab will have. And also, we will produce plantlets with things like we can resist pests and also diseases that we are encountering. So this here is a very, very good project for us. Although we are doing that, work are in progress to upgrade 11 nurseries across our country, and we'll see which will result in an average seedling production from 200,000 to 500,000 seedling to allow for availability and accessibility of new plant stock to address the demand and agriculture drive. One of the new crops that we have had, corn and soybeans, and this here has been a success story for us in Guyana, which we have formed a partnership with a consortium. We have developed the area in the Tacama Savannah We have built a 41-kilometer of road in the Takama area there. We have built the silos and 9,000-ton silos that they are using to dry process the corn and soya. And we have seen production increasing over the years. We have seen almost 10,000 acres of corn and soya beans being produced in 2023, with production for 26,000 acres by the end of 2024 and 30,000 acres by the end of 2025. What we want to do, this will take us to self-sufficiency in 2025 for us to produce all the feed, the livestock feed, for our country's needs, and also to be a net exporter in the Caribbean. We are seeing more and more investors being encouraged to come into this area. As a matter of fact, in 2023, we saw 2 new investors, the Santa Fe and Irene Integrated in Region 9, and another 2 investors, the Sheriff Group and Farmland Incorporated in 2024. We are on target for self-sufficiency to produce all livestock feed and reducing our dependency on imports. So that means that will be a big thing for us. If we produce our feed, our own feed in Guyana, then the cost for meat, especially poultry and other meats, will be reduced tremendously. In the other crops also, we have started a large increase in ginger production especially in Region 1, and also some parts in Region 3. To date, we have a total of 350 acres of ginger. These were cultivated between August of 2022 and May of 2023. In 2023, there have been a 4% increase in production to 22,212 metric tons. Planting material were also distributed to farmers from Region 1 and Region 3. Close to about $30 million in planting material we have distributed. Also, turmeric, that spice, turmeric, over 216 farmers benefited from planting material, and will continue to increase production in the turmeric area too. So 4 spices we are concentrated on: ginger, turmeric, nutmeg, and black pepper. We want Region 1. Although other regions are cultivating these spices, but Region 1, they are concentrating on it, and we want that to be the spice region for us, where we can do large-scale production of these spices. The Cut Rose Flower Project is another innovative way we are ensuring that young people and women, especially single parents, are included in the agriculture diversification. So what we are doing, we are selling a rose for just about between $300 to $500. If you go into the store, you have to purchase a rose. Many of you all who would have purchased roses would have purchased one for close to about $2,000. So we are selling these roses to single parents and female and young people, and we have seen a production to date for the year of 22,895 roses, which represents 54.5% of the 42,000 roses imported annually. So we are already satisfying the market in Guyana. Are contributing 50% to the import that we used to import before of roses, and I'm hoping in another year or 2 we can satisfy the demand in our country. Coconut, coconut is another farm, and I saw an article today in the newspaper about the coconut industry. That is another success story for us. In 2023, approximately 40,000 coconut seedlings were produced. 1,274 additional acres came under cultivation, and 297 farmers from Region 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 10 benefited from training in aspect of coconut production. This has resulted in approximately 10% increase in acreage in 2023 over 2020, with approximately 31,500 acres of coconut. And we have recently imported in the country 26,000 high-yielding Brazilian green dwarf seed nuts to boost Guyana coconut production capacity. And I want to anticipate this, that I am telling you in one vein that we produced 40,000 coconut locally, and we brought into the country 26,000 green Brazilian dwarf coconut. Well, the difference is that we are producing, and we are working to increase this approximately 400 ml water in our coconut, and the Brazilian green dwarf is producing 750 ml. So you could see the production level there. So we are trying to replicate that around the country, and in another year from now, we can have large quantities of those coconut seedlings across the country. So the 26,000 high-yielding Brazilian green dwarf seed nuts we have brought in to boost our production capacity. 216 farmers were contracted to cultivate this variety. A part of the National Coconut Decentralization Program, coconut seedlings are currently being produced at 10 nurseries that we built from 2020 to now. 10 nurseries across the country, and we have nurseries in region 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 9. And we are looking to build in other regions and boost capacity there. Also, we have seen value-added production with the fiber and coconut peat are now produced using coconut husk. A total of 8 fiber machines we have bought, and we will distribute this shortly to farmers across the country, especially places like the Pomeroon. And we are now looking to increase our coconut production because we are seeing a demand worldwide for coconut. Diversification would also focus on the cultivation of citrus, spices, cocoa, coffee, onion. We are working aggressively to produce onions. As a matter of fact, we have a 10-acre now, a 10-acre experimental plot at the Nari, and I will invite the press when we will do the reaping, harvesting shortly. And it's showing tremendous the growth that we are seeing there. I am thinking that if we can concentrate and we have this as a successful crop, we can produce all the onion needs for our country needs. Also, we'll see, we have seen in the Tacoma Savannah, 750 acres of millet will be cultivated. You remember when the president went to India, he made a commitment that we'll start the cultivation of millet. And we have started to do that with the consortium that we have formed here, 750 acres of millet. We are continuing the trial for the wheat production. Right now, as I'm speaking, the trial are encouraging, but it's continuing. I'm hoping that we can have it as a crop to grow in Guyana. So these are the new crops we are looking at the experimental stage, and we'll continue to experiment to bring those into production. Recently, we had 2 specialists from India came to look at the coconut industry in Guyana. They are now compiling their report, and I'm hoping that very shortly we can have that report to implement the recommendation. And of course, we will bring them back to help us to increase coconut production and coconut cultivation across the country. In the livestock sector, we have invested approximately $1.15 billion in 2023. We have seen continuous development in the GLDA's genetic improvement program, under which 64 breeding bulls were imported from Texas. We are working with farmers. We have given farmers a number of farming groups and farmers those bulls so that they could improve their breed. We had a contract signed with a Brazilian company to do 350 embryo transfer. That program, we have already completed 50 of those 50 confirmed pregnancy, and we have now 300 more to do in the new year, hoping that we can have better breed there. We have seen an increase of 1,555 bovine artificial insemination were done compared to 1,212 in 2022. 19,000 acres of pastures were developed and upgraded in 5 regions, namely Region 2, 3, 5, 6, and 10. We had 3 clean milk parlor built in Manripo, MMA, and Tarlagy, and we will start large-scale, once again, large-scale honey production. Remember, we talked about forming a partnership with Cuba. Well, we have 3 specialists from Cuba will be coming to Guyana in the mid part of January of next year, next few weeks, to start our apiculture activity, apiculture industry, which will commence in Region 1 and 9. And we'll work in there with so honey will be a big thing for us. Another success story for the Ministry of Agriculture is the fisheries and aquaculture. We have seen the fishery sector is a very important sector for us. We have recognized the importance of this sector. and we have made swift move to craft policies to expand an existing program while introducing new innovative and technology-based program. We have seen approximately $934 million allocated this year to improve this sector. In 2023, we have seen the highest marine production in the past 5 years, with over 42,000 metric tons. So, whilst there are views that we have seen a decline in fishing in the marine sector, we have seen an improvement here, and we have the officers at the back there who can testify and give the details. We have also started a new activity, which is a cage culture. We have presently 6 cages around the country, places like Mashabo, Mainstay, Kapoi, and these cages have already started to produce. They have already had produced a tambiki from these cages, from the villages, and in the coming months, we'll have another 50 cages, which are in the country already, being set up at various points in Region 2, 5, 9, and 10, right? Another 50 of those cages will be set up across the country. These cages, we are looking especially in the hinterland location that will boost the income of the village economy. Also, in the aquaculture area, we are now building 10. We will be spending approximately $100 million to construct 10 one-acre plot ponds. We have already started construction at Anvawak, and now those ponds are in the process of being putting lining in it. And in another month from now, those ponds will be in operation, and we'll start the production of prawns, fresh prawns, coming out of Anvawak. The brackish water shrimp industry is another success story. When we started out, the production of brackish water shrimp in our country was at 10,000 kilograms monthly. Today, we have raised that to roughly about 90,000 kilograms monthly. We have seen a massive increase in brackish water shrimp. We are working with these rural farmers. We are helping them to develop their plots, put in the various infrastructure, and also have our officers, the fishery officer, work with them, and so that they could put in the system that we want. And we are seeing now more and more demands for these species of shrimp, and we are seeing increased production. And this is a tremendous achievement for us in the brackish water shrimp industry. I am hoping that when the project would have completed in another 6 months, that we can increase production close to about over 120,000 kilograms monthly with the projects that are going on in that part of the country, Region 6. There are demands and requests for this project to expand in in other regions, Region 5, Region 2, and other regions across, and we are working with those set of farmers. Also, the agro-processing and marketing continue to be vital to the development of the agriculture sector, improving livelihood of many of our single mothers and youth, and advancing food security. We have invested approximately $589.5 million to increase opportunity for our agro-processors and exporters. Export for January to November 2023, Guyana's exported of non-traditional agriculture commodities totaling 8,926 metric tons, valued at $1,862 million, or 8.8 million US dollars. We are now in the state of constructing a food hub in Guyana on the highway. We want to be the lead exporter in CARICOM. We have commenced work on the food hub. This will continue in 2024, aiding in the food supply chain and production processes such as cold storage, manufacturing, and processing capability in order to improve market access. In 2023, 130 new agro-processed products were launched in the Guyana shop. 54 new Guyana shop corners were established this year, bringing the total numbers in operation to 68. In 2023, the new GMC started developing 2 more agro-processing facilities in Oriala and Crabwood Creek, and successfully commissioned 3 agro-processing facilities in various regions, Region 9, Region 10, and Region 2. We have hosted to date, as I said, and that was a budget measure. When the minister highlights certain measures in budget, we said we'll do farmers market across the country. To date, we did 13 of those markets across the country in regions 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 9, and 10. In 2023, special emphasis was placed on further developing agriculture in Guyana hinterland region, transforming livelihood at village level. Through the HISAP project, we executed project to benefit over 28,600 persons from Region 1, 7, 8, and 9. For 2023, $739 million is budgeted to fund several development projects, which include infrastructural upgrades, irrigation, livestock, farming, and agro-processing, development and training exercises, and apiculture and climate-smart agriculture. In concluding, you know that we are now leading CARICOM. Guyana continues to play the leading role in agriculture and food and nutrition security. Since 2020, Guyana has emerged as a leader in CARICOM, advancing the agri-food system agenda. We are a leading voice in prioritizing food security and position in the agriculture sector. This was non-existent during the previous government. Guyana's leadership on the 25 by 2025 initiative by CARICOM, which is aimed at reducing extra-regional agri-food import bill by 25% by the year 2025, is evidence that agriculture is viewed as a mainstay of our economy and a fundamental development pillar for our future low-carbon development path. We have had already 2 agri-investment expo in Guyana, and we have seen from those expo many investors coming to Guyana to invest. We have developed MOU with various countries in the Caribbean, and that will continue. As a matter of fact, as I said, there are requests to do a lot more in terms of helping other CARICOM nation developing their agriculture sector. So 2023 has been a very transformative year for us in the agriculture sector, with the government's policy and policy direction has enabled us to deliver on all our initiatives outlined in the manifesto promises. Budget 2023. Through our program, we have committed and we continue to harness the potential of each sector, increasing productivity and competitiveness, and at the same time improve food security and self-sufficiency for our nation. And with the leadership of His Excellency the President in CARICOM, I am hoping that Guyana will be that hub that we're talking about, both in food production and export, so that we can once again turn the food basket of the Caribbean. So I want to thank you. I want to pause here. I know it was a little lengthy statement. I'll open now for questioning. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Minister. I'm sure you will agree with me that that was a very comprehensive statement touching on a range of issues in the agriculture sector, including the achievements, but also some of the plans for the future. So, like I said before, we open the floor now for questions. I just want to remind you to identify yourself and the media houses or the media house you're representing. The floor is open for questions.
Yeah.
Considering that coconut is a lucrative business in Guyana, and we're striving to put Guyana on the map. Recently, we had an interview and we shared your thoughts as to where you want farmers to be in that sector, coconut sector. How are you determining the distribution of these really large coconuts that are coming in this sector?
So as I said, that we have contracted a number of farmers to replicate those seedlings. But what we are working with various groups across the country. And over time with outreaches and those groups, we have had interest and we have had requests, and we are working with a number of those groups in identifying who needs these planting material, these seedlings. So that's the way we have been identifying in terms of working with the local organization, working with the farmers group, when we go to our outreaches, and also by our extension officers. They have been working over time with this group, and they have identified a number of those persons who are interested in getting these high value or high seedling that we talk about. Very, very receptive. You know, that is why we have started the importation of these high-yielding coconut variety that we talk about, because they have shown a very keen interest. And we have seen that since 2020, with the effort that we have made and the investment that we have made, we have seen the increase in cultivation and also production. So we are working with groups across the country, and I highlighted Pomeroon because Pomeroon have large cultivation of coconut. That doesn't mean that Pomeroon, because when we started out with requests from the Pomeroon. But we'll be working with other groups across the country over time. And the East Bank, we have Coconut Plantation in Corntine, Maikoni. So we'll distribute, and this will be a continuous process, not only for this year, but next year. In next year's budget, we also have requests there for this type of machine that we'll make available to farmers across the country.
Brian Guyana Times. Considering Guyana assumes chairmanship of CARICOM next year, from an agricultural standpoint, how significant will this be? And you made mention of Indian experts just now in connection with coconut. Indian experts were also supposed to, or the government was going to approach India for help with the sugar sector. Was this done? Can you provide an update on that?
So first of all, for Guyana, in a session to the CARICOM chairmanship, this will be a big boost for us. Because first of all, we know for a fact that His Excellency is leading the agriculture agenda in CARICOM. He's the lead spokesperson in agriculture. And for me as Minister of Agriculture, I think this will take a lead, agriculture will be one of the main focus, because we have seen over the last few years a number of countries that have had indicate their interest in this sector. Now, for His Excellency to assume the chairmanship of CARICOM, I think that agriculture will be given a priority. Although other issues will be given priority, but agriculture, because we have seen what has happened during the pandemic. Many countries that have large places, rich country in the Caribbean, places like whose economy afforded it, they were unable to get food, sometimes procure food. So that is why CARICOM leaders met and decided that, look, we have to reduce the dependency on external import. And we have to reduce it, and we'll phase it out. For the first 3 years, or the first 5 years, we have to reduce it by 25%. And for CARICOM to make that decision, over the years, you know, and like all of us, would have seen CARICOM made different statements about agriculture and food production. But now we are seeing the political will is there. And I think with the passion that our president has, he will drive this agenda, and I think CARICOM will be directly towards increased food production and reduce the food import bill. So for me, that will be good for Guyana, because we are leading that, and you know, we are also chairing the ministerial task force on food production, and that will help us tremendously. Not help us alone, help the Caribbean to achieve its goal in terms of moving to a direction that we want CARICOM to move. That one. The other issue that they talk about, yes, we are not only looking at India, but we have had discussion with Guatemala and other areas, other nations to help us in the sugar industry. But two countries that were identified for us was India and Guatemala. Right now, the chairman, who is the Director General, he's working with a team, a technical team with Gaisuco, and they will have to submit to Guatemala shortly some of the areas that they need help. And I'm hoping that we already decided when we spoke to the Indian export what we need, what they should look at. I am hoping in the new year we should have a visit from a company from India to come here to look at some aspect of the industry, but at the same time, I am hoping some technical people from Gaisuco will be visiting Guatemala to see what they are doing there, so that they can also see and work with the Guatemalan sugar company. And the third question, no, do two, okay. And the so yes, so if I could say we have already partnered, I didn't mention it, but we are partnered with the private sector. That program has started, and very shortly we'll invite the press to look at it. We have already started production of eggs. How many, Dr. Waller, how many eggs we producing?
We're in the first cycle, and from the first 5,000, we're now approximately 2,900 in production.
Our own hatching eggs, we are producing right here in Guyana now, rather than importing. And in another few years from now, we are setting ourselves a target. If we could produce 29 out of 5,000, then that augurs well for us that we are looking to improve that and increase hatching eggs production so that we can be self-sufficient.
Minister, can you say what is the in-house capacity of the ministry in terms of excavators and other equipment?
Ready for that?
How many are up with us? How many are up, how many are down? And what is the dredging and desilting plans for this country for the first and second quarters of 2024?
So to date, we have 153 pieces of our equipment or those machinery. 95% of that are operable, and we have a maintenance contract where we have a firm is doing these repairs around the country.
Which one?
Pardon me?
Which one, please?
Several firms, right? A number of in various regions doing these maintenance.
We have in-house mechanics too.
And we have our own mechanic. You know, we have a workshop at Lusignan. The NDI has a workshop at Lusignan with their mechanic too. But the fleet of machinery is so much that we have to also outsource some of those, right? And in various parts of the region, decentralize it so that you can, when a machine breaks in Crabwood Creek, bring it to Lusignan or Essequibo. So we have companies that we would have awarded contract to work there.
Based on this 153, is we speaking on excavators alone,
Or like that, or equipment like machinery, but most are excavators, bulldozers, graders. Those three pieces, three types of equipment, right? And excavators include amphibious excavators. You know what is an amphibious excavator?
Yeah.
An excavator that goes into the canal and work, float in the canal and work.
If your budget reallocation, I know you know the ministry is working on budget, if you have to come to this year for 2024. If all goes well, by how much this fleet will be increased? What are you asking for?
Well, we will continue increase those fleet, as you rightly said. Well, in this year's budget, we asked for another 4. In next year's budget, another 4. Recently, we have bought another 5 when the supplementary that we would have received from Parliament. 3 amphibious, 5 amphibious, and we also bought another 2 for the islands of Wakenham and Legwan, right? And we'll be building a pontoon, another pontoon with 2 other excavators for the Pomeroon. So all those now, we have that in the supplementary that recently passed in the National Assembly. Works are ongoing. We have received those excavators already, and very shortly I will distribute them around the country.
And the dredging and desilting plans for the first and second quarters of 2024?
Well, these various areas you have to look at how you have to do this. For example, in the Pomeroon, the dredging is ongoing there in the Pomeroon. For the outfalls, as I said, we have our own cutter-edge dredge. But you can't go to the outfall and clear the outfall when you don't have water to flush it on a regular basis. So what we'll do, we have to wait for probably the rainfall before we start to desilt. We already awarded contract waiting for the appropriate time to do it.
Based on your mapping and tapping, which are your critical areas or areas that require more interest?
Well, there were a number of areas that we have had concern with, but over time we have put in a lot of works. And those areas now are becoming less concerned in terms of for drainage and things like that. And with the construction of these Hope-like mega canals that I talk about, we'll have a tremendous ease in areas that used to be flooded. Places like the Cook Ridge Savannah, where we have a lot of flooding used to take place there. I am hoping that we can reduce flooding there. Places like the Pomeroon, those are areas that we had serious concern with. with what we are doing now, with the investment there, $1.8 billion to lift the people in bed by 1.5 meter, to do block drainage, where block drainage across those areas there will reduce flooding tremendously. Those were areas where we used to have a lot of concern with. Places like Blackbush Polder, where we'll be doing an independent mega project from at Bengal coming out of Johanna. So we'll have independent channel now right onto the Atlantic.
And I know you have some issues with Mocha, right?
Well, we continue. We have work continuing in Mocha. As a matter of fact, we have been working with farmers in Mocha. We have our machine there, and we are continuing working in Mocha, and we are doing bed and drains also in the Mocha area. When the president went there, he made a number of commitments which I am working with. And you know for a fact that I went in there for a number of time and had direct interaction with the farmers. So we are working at Mocha. We are working in places like Buxton, for example. They got drains in Buxton. They call it a soccer drain. We are working to rehabilitate all those drains in the Buxton, Nabakalis, Victoria area. The Ansgrove area we are working in. The entire MMA area. Right now we are clearing hundreds of acres of land at Belladrum. And where people are going back for the first time in decades to go back to the land in Belladrum. In places like El Dorado, Baracara. Baracara, we are doing 400 acres of land, working with the farmers there to do red beans cultivation. We have given the farmers in Baracara their own tractors, pump, and a number of farming equipment. And we are giving them all the planting materials. Places like Dartmouth and the Essequibo Coast, we are working with farmers there. We have cleared hundreds of acres of land in Dartmouth, Queenstown, and the Essequibo Coast. So a number of areas all across this country. As I said, in Linden, where people used to consider Linden to be only a mining town, we are seeing a lot of agricultural activities now with the construction of the conservancy that we have built in Linden.
Minister Antonio De Saro, I have several questions. One, could you say the 25% by 2025 indicated payments to end in 2 years? Can you identify the food imports that Ghana will reduce by the end of that period? Secondly, can you say what is the headway being made with the food terminal that is being established in Barbados? Third, among the major projects this year, you would have mentioned about the pump stations. I know that you would have seen reports about the Kapui contract, right? Which is tuned at $865 million.
Kapui?
Tupui contract.
Oh.
Could you say if the company has built such a station, because there are contentions that it has no expertise? Could you possibly provide an update on that? And can you give us an update on the Dal pump station, if it is going to meet its April deadline, that is next year? And there is also reports about Mahite and Maipuni farmers who continue to complain about salt water intrusion.
Good.
What is your ministry doing about that to address that?
So that is all your questions?
And I have a last question here. Are any financial statements being prepared for the shade houses that the government has invested in terms of how much money that was stated, and how much has earned by the growers, sorry.
How much?
How much has been earned by the growers?
The growers.
The growers, sorry, yeah.
All right, good. For example, you asked the first question, 25 by 2025. We are hoping that we will make a contribution in a number of areas. One of the areas is corn and soya. We already started out. With the high value crop in 2021, we imported $2.6 billion in these high value crops. We have seen that drop tremendously now. And these high value crops are things like carrot, broccoli, cauliflower, bell pepper, and a number of other of those things that we plant in the shade house. With the amount of shade houses, close to about 400 shade houses across the country now, we have seen a steep production of these imports that these commodities that we used to import. So at the end of 2025, Guyana will a number of crops. We are working on wheat production. If we can get a wheat to be a variety, we find a variety to plant in Guyana, we will not import wheat. We will not import corn and soya. We will not import high-value crops like I mentioned just now. We will not import hatching eggs that we talk about with the breeders program that we have. We will not import the kind of the variety of the special cuts, because we are now building an abattoir, one of the most state-of-the-art abattoir in Region 5, Anvawak, and we are working with the other organizations so that we can produce our own, cattle and beef, so to work there. So, and we are working with a company from Brazil that wants to bring in about 1,000 head of cattle to do work in Guyana. We're hoping that that program can start next year. Right? We are looking to produce all our spices right here in Guyana. I mentioned just now turmeric, black pepper, ginger, nutmegs. I'm looking to do onion. We talk about onion produce. So a number of areas that I can list it. Now, the food terminal in Barbados. There's an area called the Brown Pond in Barbados. I visited there with the president and the Prime Minister of Barbados. Our job was to ensure that we work with them. We have Mr. Lionel, who is the chairman of NDIA, an engineer by profession, have worked along with his counterpart in Barbados. We finished the design, and they are working now with a company from Trinidad who are they are working to help with the construction of this food terminal. The Novo company, yeah, the Novo company. The Novo company in Trinidad that produces the dal, the instant bacon choke, you know, these things. And so that is moving apace. The Lindal pump station, yes, is on track. Yes. And I'm hoping, very optimistic, yes, it will meet its deadline. And you know for a fact that that is a major project, that is a World Bank project, right? And I'm hoping that it will meet its deadline. And other pump station too, not only the Lindal one, those that were published in Stabroek News, those like people, the opposition MP like Maipal was raising. All right, we met with the contractors. The deadline, they have to complete it by the specific deadline that were set. All the contractors we met with, the places like the canals one, the A-line at canals, the charity, the Cosia, all those areas. I can list it. They want a cottage. All the contractor we met with a week ago. Last week, Thursday, we met with them. And they signed that, yes, all the construction will be completed. The one with this company, with Tapui company.
Yeah, it's very contentious.
This one here, I don't want to pronounce on it. Our job is not to award contract. Our job is to work with the contractor to ensure that he delivered. He deliver what he bid and receive. The job of the National Procurement and Tendering Administration is to award contracts. Now, seeing that these contracts were awarded four new pump stations, right? Mm-hmm. 4 new pump stations, and this is one of the companies that received, we'll work. We'll ensure that he has to satisfy all the specs that we have, right? So,
sir, if I understand you correctly, because I know that the NDIA falls under the Ministry of Housing, and you have oversight over that, so you would not open to comment on that subject?
No, I'm saying the comments I'm making, that our job is to not award contract. Our job is to work with the entity that was awarded the contract to ensure that they satisfy the specs. Our job is to ensure that we receive value for our money. And we will ensure that we receive value for our money.
Right, I understand it, but...
So the aspect of awarding contract, the criteria of awarding contract doesn't fall under the Ministry of Agriculture through the NDIA. That fall under the National Procurement and Tendering Administration, which would have awarded a contract to this company. Our job is to ensure that we get value for our money, which we are doing.
Well, if there's any representative from NDIA, I just wanted to find out if the Public Procurement Commission would have requested some documents concerning that same contract.
No. The public, I can speak on it because NDI falls under my my thing. So the documents that the PPC would have requested and the document that we have supplied those documents. The NDIA, yes. Where is yes, they have supplied those documents, but the documents that are in our possession, we have already sent it to the Public Procurement Commission.
Quick question. The $600 million contract that has been flagged by the Auditor General for pumps that were procured in 2018. Can you elaborate on
I spoke of that earlier.
Yeah, but I want you to...
So let me tell you what. They have paid about 75% of the costs, the previous government. When I came in and we discovered that the pump were not suitable, those pumps were not suitable. You have smaller, the pump size was small, the engine was small. I put a stop to the payment, and we were working to see how we can get those pumps replaced. As a matter of fact, we did an assessment, and we did a proposal how this matter could resolve. That the engine, of course, the engine will have to be replaced because the engine were of smaller size than the spec that was required. So the matter is at that stage. Also, it has engaged, I've engaged my colleague Minister AG, the Attorney General, and we are working. Hopefully we can get this matter resolved shortly.
Are there any challenges in terms of engaging the company that procured it?
Well, we are engaging the country through the Indian High Commission. So I am the ambassador, the High Commissioner, and have been working and cooperating with us to get the company engaged. I am hoping just after the holiday we can have another meeting and hopefully this matter can resolve.
Yeah.
It's an Apollo company from India.
So what were the farmers? So you didn't answer the question in Mike and Mike.
No, I answered the question 2 weeks ago to Starbrook. I went to Myconi. I met with the farmers. They complained about the salt water intrusion. I have given instruction. Mr. Lionel and his team have been working. They have been when the farmers complain about the salt water, we had the high tide. Now the water have been cutting, if you know the local term, reducing then. And when the water reduces, you have more drafting periods. The water can go out of the channel. That the NDI have been working with. But at the same time, we install pumps at various points, which is bringing in fresh water into the system. And we open up a creek, what is the creek name? That creek that the Lionel spoke about, so that fresh water is coming into the irrigation system. At the same time, we are also providing fresh drinking water for the farmers in Myconi. And since then, the President has instructed that we provide a black tank to each home in that area so that whenever you have rainfall, or we can help them to fill the tank. So by next week, we will deliver on that commitment that the President has instructed us to do. Yes, Ms. Kaichur.
Thank you. On the issue of the 25% can you say or just confirm for us if VAN is already targeting all of the big ticket items, or if there are other items that you plan to target for 2024 and 2025? And can you say, in terms of Guyana, how far along are we in achieving this goal, and which CARICOM countries are lagging behind? I have other questions, but I'll allow you to.
So if I can remember well, we have about 8 commodities that were targeted to reduce the importation. Things like poultry meat, meat product, rice, coconuts, those things that comes into Caribbean. I can't remember all, but Guyana will be playing a leading role in terms of helping to reduce that importation. And those commodities that were identified are commodities that Guyana is producing, most of those. So we will be making a contribution in terms of reducing the import. For example, livestock feed, corn and soya is one, rice, poultry, coconut, niche vegetables, things that we bring from Florida and other places that we are, and all those things we are producing in Guyana. The last time we would have taken a stock was about 58% we are at presently, right? Hoping by 2025 we can achieve the 100% that we have set ourselves in terms of achieving 25% of the targets.
And which CARICOM countries are lagging behind?
I don't want to identify any Caribbean country, but there are some countries that we are working with and some countries that have a lot of challenges. Like, for example, places like Montserrat. You don't expect Montserrat to make a large contribution. They have a very active volcano. Places like St. Vincent and the Grenadines that had a volcano the other day. They are now rebuilding the sector. We are working with them to build their tuber industry back once again. So, but they are making their contribution. They are trying as much as possible to make their contribution. But I think, as I said earlier, that reducing the food import bill of CARICOM was a long discussion before, but now we are seeing the political will there. We are seeing countries that are interested, places like Barbados, whose economy were directly built on tourism, who never had interest in agriculture much. Now they are interested. They are working. They are doing brackish water shrimp. We help them to build at Brown Pond. They are doing the things like sweet potato, cassava. We are helping them to build shade houses across 20 shade houses in the island. We are helping them to build. Trinidad and Tobago, we are helping them to resuscitate the rice industry. We give them 100 tons of seedling, of rice seed. Recently, we sold it to them. So I said, give the farmers in Ghana, we're giving out rice seed. We sold 100,000 tons of rice seed to Trinidad. I am sending a technical team after the holiday to Trinidad to help them in work there. We are helping them with the shade house construction in Trinidad and Tobago. In St. Vincent and the Grenadines, we are helping them to build their tuber industry also in that areas. So generally, we are working with a number of CARICOM countries. And Guyana now is being seen as a leading light in terms of providing this kind of leadership in CARICOM.
Yeah, if I can piggyback on Shana's question, this 58%, is it CARICOM overall, or does it represent Guyana?
No, CARICOM overall.
Does Guyana know how much it has reduced?
All the countries, and I can supply that. I can give you the contribution of all the countries, all 15 member states.
Specifically Guyana doesn't know.
What?
Our reduction.
Yeah, I can provide that data. I don't have it here. I will provide that data to you. We have it. We have to do that on a regular basis.
In your opening statement, you spoke about what you inherited. Can you say which agency required the most reform in terms of the level of corruption, contract mismanagement, or just poor administration overall? Which agency required the most work? And what systems have you put in place to ensure that it's a policy that is known, you have a zero tolerance approach where corruption and these other issues are concerned? And as you're pondering that, I wanted to just switch your attention to the gas to energy project. The president has spoken about the impacts this project could have on the agri sector, but are you actively developing a plan and to say, well, which sectors will be pushed to the front to latch onto this new project and to increase production? Which sectors are you looking at to derive the most benefits at first? Are you devising an action plan where that is concerned? And on rice, can you say if a new strain is being developed? I know you had a lot of success with GRDP 16, and what new markets are you targeting?
Okay, first of all, I don't want to identify any agency. Generally, across the ministry, I have put a number of mechanisms in place. For example, when I took over, we had some issue with contracts that were in NDIA with extension. The procedure was not followed. You know that I made that public, and that was the issue where contract was extended without the proper procedure. So we're trying to put those systems in place. Now we are signing contracts in the public. We are making the bill of quantities, the on-price bill of quantities available to the stakeholders so they could see what kind of work has to be done. We are moving in direction where we are making officers, head of agency go directly and talk to the stakeholders, bring them more, get them more involved in various aspects of this of discussion, so that they can know and trust the system rather than have, don't trust it and say that they got apprehension about certain issues. So we have been moving in that direction and be more open and transparent. As a matter of fact, when we go out also, we make available the costs for projects. We try as much as possible to pay for measured work rather than pay for the whole contract cost, so that we can be more accountable. If a contractor have a contract for $10 million and the work we go and we find it done, and you measure it and it's worth $8 million, we pay only for $8 million worth, although the contract would have to be $10 million. So those are more accountability that we have put in place at the Ministry of Agriculture. In terms of, you talk about the gas to shore. The gas to shore project will be tremendous benefit in the agriculture sector, in our manufacturing sector. What we are now doing, especially with the new GMC, they have been working with a number of stakeholders, agro-processors. And what we have been building, we built close to about 12 of those 13 of those agro-processing facilities across the country. We need proper energy to run these places because the lines that we have there will demand what we want to produce. For example, we are working with various groups across the country. Right here on the coast, we have built a number of those, but we can't depend solely on the network that we have now in GPL. So the gas to shore energy will have cheaper power and stable power that will help us, and that will now redound to the other sectors in terms of producing more things that we want to produce, in terms of production in various crops, various areas that we want to process and produce in manufacturing, right? So that will help us. Also, recently I've had a discussion with one of a company came in Guyana who are interested in producing fertilizer. You know, with the Russian-Ukraine war, we have seen an escalation with the cost of fertilizer. And if we can produce our own fertilizer in Guyana, that will be a big thing for us in terms of reduction of the cost of production. So if we can have reduction of fertilizer costs, if we can have a reduction in energy costs for manufacturing in terms of agro-processing, that will help us tremendously. That will redound back to the sector in terms of producing more and getting cheaper input in these agriculture sector. Now the third question, what is the third one you asked? Yes, a number of new rice strain we have right now. I don't know who wants to speak. High yielding variety. That is why I said we were able to, within 1 year, we were able to increase yield from 6.2 to 6.3 hectares. Right? So yes, we have a number of those, and a number of those strains is right now working on. Right? And it's been evaluated to become a candidate variety.
We have some Brazilian
and, right? So a number of areas that we're talking about.
I heard we have some Brazilian versions.
Those, yeah, all, not only Brazilian varieties, but different parts of the world. For example, I sent a team to India, they brought some different strains. So we're working with different varieties, different strains, so that which is more productive. You understand? For example, we have, well, I know you know a little about rice. We have like GRDB 10, we have GRDB 15, we have GRDB 16. So different variety, you'll have different yield. For example, the high yielding one for us locally is the GRDB 16, right? The one that we're working with Brazil and is producing a little better, right? The other strains that we have might produce more. So we have a lot of those. And we have a very active research team that are working there at Burma Rice Research Station.
And what about new markets?
Yeah, we have new markets. As I said, we had new markets, some market in Africa last year. Sierra Leone was a new market that we had, and we have some new markets in Europe. And you know, with the reduction of export from India, we'll have a lot of requests coming to Guyana where people will need to fill those markets that India would have supplied rice to. So our demands will be more, especially in Europe and some places in North America.
What are the updates on that MOU that your ministry signed earlier this year with the Indian company for millet production?
We started it. They supply all the planting material to us, so we are working with them. You understand? We're working with them, and we signed an MOU. I mentioned it just now. We signed an MOU with Cuba that will start implementation by next 2 weeks. We got the exports coming to Guyana to start apiculture. We have signed MOU with Trinidad and Tobago, which we are helping them to resuscitate various aspects of their agriculture sector. So all the MOUs we are working and to try to implement and get things in shape. Well, the black belly sheep product to date, we have about approximately 750.
total import 707, and
Se-
we have another approximately 200.
That's-
So we got 707 sheep. So what we'll do in the new year, we're rolling out the program. We already know Dr. Waldron provide me with the farmers that will be in the program. So what we'll do, we'll provide these sheep to the farmers. In turn, they will have to give us back to replicate that and give us to other farmers. And that is how we'll increase the population of black belly sheep in Guyana to create a brand. So we have approximately how many farmers?
42 for the first tranche.
42 farmers already identified for the first tranche, which will roll out before the first quarter of 2024.
That have met the criteria that was approved.
Right.
These are farmers from across the country.
Region 5 first. We started in Region 5 first. Pardon me?
When is the country expected to receive millions?
Well, the Minister of Agriculture from Barbados told me before the first quarter of 2024.
Minister, you would mention that there has been the highest production in the last few years. Is this as a result of more persons getting involved in the industry? And what are some of the plans for 2024 to further increase the production in the fisheries industry?
So, first of all, we had an issue with the fishing, especially marine catches. I think that we had a study with FAO, and they did a report, and they showed the cause why we had a low catches at that time, because of the heavy fresh water going in, coming in from the Amazon, going into the Atlantic and things like that, had the fish to move away. Now, with the reduction of that, we have seen an increase because of the weather pattern have changed, climate change we're talking about. And we have been giving constant support to the fishing industry in terms of making resources available and hoping those things can be redone in terms of increased production. What we have done, we are purchasing now these tracking device that we are putting in these private boats so that we can know the location when they are in emergency. When I became Minister of Agriculture, I saw Kaiser News would have carried an article about the boat that they bought. I came and I saw a boat that the previous administration would have bought to do patrolling in the Atlantic and so. The boat is presently being modified because I don't think it was suitable, and I'm hoping that very shortly we can get that boat start operation so that we can have patrolling also in our areas there where our fisher folks normally fish.
No further questions?
All right.
If there are no further questions, thank you very much for coming, and all the best to you for 2024. I believe we have light refreshments at the back.
Thank you very much, and all the best. Enjoy.
Excellent.
Yeah.